Waylon Hobbs. I'm the mayor of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead. The Village of Hempstead is the largest village in not only the state of New York, but in the country. As being the mayor of the Village of Hempstead, it is my goal to promote economic development. In the Village of Hempstead, we're known as the hub because we have the Long Island Railroad and the Rosa Park bus station. And so in our downtown area right now, we have some major development happening because it is our goal to be able to continue to attract and keep our young professionals. Because the cost of living in Long Island is so high, we're trying to make sure that we capture all these great minds like Hofstra University students and so many people by building affordable but for professionals in the Village of Hempstead. And so I've served in office for 4 years as mayor. We were recently elected this year to serve 4 more. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And then we're going to hand it over to Mr. Scott Davis, our county legislator for District 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Davis, legislator for Legislative District Number 1. The current district is Rockville Center in the Village of Hempstead, and with redistricting, the new district will now be Rockville Center, South Hempstead, part of Hempstead, North Baldwin, and all of Roosevelt, which gets to what my priority is. So my first term, my first 2 years in office, I really got to learn the community that I represent. And now that I have an additional 3 places to represent, my intention is to learn the community, and my philosophy in representation is very simple. Show up, listen, learn, and act. And that's what I intend on doing.
And then Ms. Olena Nix, of the county legislator for District 2.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olena Nix, and my District 2 currently covers all of Westbury and Newcastle, all of Uniondale, and some small portions of the Village of Hempstead. I had the pleasure of being elected this February of 2025 in a special election, so I am pretty new to the legislature, but I'm also grateful for being re-elected into the Nassau County's 5th district, because due to redistricting, as my colleague said, some of the districts certainly have changed, so that new District 5 will encompass the communities of Uniondale, Hempstead, West Hempstead, and the eastern portion of Franklin Square. For me, my priorities are, 1, making sure that our communities within this district feel represented, because for quite some time they have expressed underrepresentation and not being heard. So ensuring that we are listening to what those concerns are and working as diligently as possible to get those solutions for them. And then in addition, I am a millennial, so housing is a big concern for me. I grew up on Long Island and I'm hoping to stay here for a while. And many of my counterparts have not had the opportunity to because of the rising costs. So housing is certainly a focus of mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we have Mr. Ramule, legislator of District 6.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have the pleasure of being re-elected for the 5th time to Legislative District Number 6, which currently encompasses a piece of Freeport, piece of Oceanside, all of Roosevelt, all of South Hempstead, and all of Baldwin. And I hope we talk about the redistricting, because that was an important thing that happened over the last year. But you've heard us mention it. So my new district is going to be all of Freeport, half of Baldwin, and a little piece of Oceanside. I just want to say that prior to that, I served on the Freeport Village Board, and then prior to that, I was a school board member for 9 years. So the school board is another way of being a local elected official. You don't get paid, and boy, it's tough work, but it is rewarding, and it's critically important that we have good people in our school districts. My priority is infrastructure. I have many priorities, but I would say the overarching one is infrastructure. In Baldwin, we had a gigantic sinkhole 2 years ago, which highlighted the need for taking care of our aging infrastructure. Our sewer lines, our water lines are all 80 years old. They're supposed to be, their life is supposed to be 50 years old, so you can see the math just doesn't add up. So we really need to pay attention to that, otherwise we're just gonna keep having gigantic sinkholes with all the problems that go along with that. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over. Thank you.
And then last, but definitely not least, we have Seth Kozlow, the county legislator for District 5.
Thank you. I'm Seth Kozlow. I represent the 5th legislative district right now, and as it stands right now, my district is most of Freeport, along with legislative Muley, all of South America, parts of North America, and a little bit of North Belmore. I've represented that district since 2024 when I took office, and unlike the rest of the people at this table, I am no longer in office as of January 1st because I did not run for re-election as a legislator. I chose to run for higher office, and I ran for county executive, and unfortunately did not win, so I'm not going to be in office next year, but my experience as a legislator has taught me that there's still a lot of work to do and more things we can focus on. Specifically, my priority when I was in office was public safety, public health and public safety, and working with our police departments and our local agencies to make sure our youth are safe and our children are comfortable in fields and schools. And I'm going to continue to work behind the scenes with my colleagues in the legislature and the state and federal government because, quite frankly, we need that. We need people willing to do it. And part of the reason we're here is to try and get you engaged, to get involved, because it starts here. I started when I was in college running for office, president of school, things like that, and you start to kind of run with those things, and that's how the process starts for some people, and I'm one of those people, and hoping some of you will join us. Thanks.
So how today is going to work, we've prepared some questions for you, and you're going to go in the order we started, and you'll take 1 or 2 minutes just to give your answers, and we will go all straight through the line to Assemblyman Burrows. So we're going to start with Mayor. So the first question is, everyone has a story of impact. What moment or experience inspired you to step into community leadership, and how have your upbringings and experiences shaped the way you lead and the issues you focus on?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Hempstead, but I'm also a pastor. I pastor in Coney Island, Brooklyn. I've been pastoring for 31 years. So as I was committed to the community that I was pastoring in Coney Island, when I went there 31 years ago, it was empty buildings, abandoned buildings, a lot. It was just really a high crime area. But working with local elected officials, grassroots organization, we watched that community that used to be blighted turn around completely. Meanwhile, I'm still living in Hempstead. And as I'm seeing what we were able to do in Coney Island, I'm looking at my own community and wasn't really happy with, in my opinion, the environment that was in Hempstead. And so I said, instead of sitting back and complaining about it, the best way to make change is be the person that can institute that change. And that's what got me involved in politics and running for elected office, is because I wanted to see the same opportunity in my community that we was able to do in others' communities.
You can go ahead.
Oh, it's the same question.
Yes.
So for me, I guess my inspiration for it was just my upbringing, and I had lost my mother when I was very young, and I had a lot of turmoil and insecurity in my life, and I always imagined what winning would be in life. And so for me, I'm the first in my family to go to college, let alone law school. And by the way, I went to law school right here at Hofstra. And so when I was able to achieve my dreams, I then looked outward. And for me, I didn't get there without the help of others. And my idea was, with the same help that I received, would be the same help that I would give. And that was really my inspiration for coming into government. I did it privately. I did mentoring and coaching and things like that in the community, but when the opportunity presented itself to go into the legislature and represent the district where I grew up, right here in Hempstead, and Rockville Center where I raised my family, I had to take the advice that I give my children, and that was that you go for it. You don't just sit on the sideline. And I got over the idea of being uncomfortable and the scrutiny that comes with being in public office, and I had to get over myself. And I would say this, everything that I imagined what this position would be like, I wish I had the knowledge about it then that I do now. I would have done it sooner, because you can really, if you're committed to doing the right thing, there's plenty of opportunities to do that. And so I think the message that if any of you can take away with that is, don't sit on the sideline and don't wait for other people to do it. And there's no a better person to do it than you.
For me, my inspiration, I grew up in Uniondale, and at 14, I had the opportunity of working for a grant-funded program at Planned Parenthood, and it was focused on teen advocacy work and getting into schools within certain communities for more comprehensive sex education. And at the time, Uniondale as a school district had changed from comprehensive sex ed to abstinence only. So we were really in the community speaking to our peers, because at the time the STD rates and pregnancy rates within certain communities were higher than we wanted them to be. And through that work and just working with Planned Parenthood, we had the opportunities of going to DC, going to Albany, and really lobbying for not just teens and people my age, but also women's reproductive rights. So that's where I got a lot of my inspiration and learned a bit about government. I then went on to volunteer for the fire department, and that's where I learned a lot more about what was going on in the community and what some of the concerns were of our residents. And really from there, getting involved within the library and our civic organizations and taking on ownership of the community that I lived in, and wanting to make sure that we were represented, and that, you know, we have so many layers of government, and sometimes it is tricky, and you have to understand that many of the residents sometimes don't have time to sit for meetings or make 5 phone calls. But for those of us who do have the opportunity to, we do that work for the others who cannot, and we're the voice for those who cannot. So that's kind of how I got into the space.
So, my parents, I would say, were my inspiration. They were always involved in various volunteering opportunities out in the community. But in terms of actually running for office, I didn't so much jump into it as went into it kicking and screaming. Sometimes other people see things in you that you don't see. And please remember that. All of you who are students, because you may not always see things that other people see, and other people saw the potential for me to do this type of job. So I was asked to run for the school board. Oh no, that sounds terrible. But I did it and I loved it. And then I was asked to run for the village board. Oh no, that sounds terrible. But I did it and I ended up loving it. And then the position opened up for the county legislature in my district. That time I went after it, because at that point I had the confidence in my ability and the knowledge base to know that I was going to be capable of doing this. So, you know, my motivation is I come from a kind of a grassroots situation in terms of PTA and school board and village board, but I think my motivation was always to do the best that I can with what I have, and to help out the community in any way I can.
I said before that I ran for class president in college, and I ran for class president in high school. So you would think that's where this got started, except I never won any of those elections. But I was always involved, I was always active, and before I got involved in politics, I was very involved in my community as a coach for Little League, my son's travel baseball team, just involved with my kids and their activities. And the moment that kind of put me in the position to get involved in government wasn't an aha moment for me. It was more that government found me. They came to me and said, we need someone to run, would you be interested? And in that moment, I realized that this is exactly what I've been setting myself up for because I've been so involved. And to Scott Davis's point, you don't just sit around on the sidelines and say, oh, I can do better or we should change things. And when the opportunity came, I jumped at it and wanted to get involved to make a difference and do something and show my kids what it's about. And it's a decision I made a little over 2 years ago, and in that very short time frame, I went from winning a race to become kind of legislator to that I just ran a race in Nassau County that I didn't win, but put my name out there all across Nassau County, and it was a very quick process to go from not being involved to running for the highest office in Nassau County, but with the support of my colleagues and my friends and the people I met, it was very rewarding and very fulfilling, even though I didn't win. And I think it's one of those things that once you start getting into this process, you realize how much you can do just by being involved, and I'm very grateful that it happened.
Thank you. I think my story is a little different. I never intended on running for government. It was the furthest thing from my mind, although I did grow up in a household with a dad who had done some things that I considered to be something I could never compare to. So at a very young age, my dad, he's a civil rights activist, and so at 13 years old, he began to integrate in Savannah, Georgia. He moved from Savannah, Georgia to Atlanta, Georgia, where he became a very young staffer. So for the SALC, which is Martin Luther King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And so I grew up with these stories from my dad about the things he had done. And I already looked, you learn about Martin Luther King every day in school, every year in school. I looked at Martin Luther King as this was probably one of the most amazing individuals that ever walked this planet. And that my dad had assignments that he had gotten from Martin Luther King. And I grew up with him telling me these amazing stories. And so it rained on me, but it wasn't my destiny to do that. I thought for me it was more my own way. And as everyone stated, I did things in the community. I think my parents, they did influence giving back to the community. So, as a coach, my family and I, we have a nonprofit where we do a lot of events within the community. And I was also teaching in Hempstead. I'm from Hempstead. So you combine those things, and then one day I looked at the then mayor, and I wanted to work with him because I thought, there's some things going on in this village that I want to see do better. And I just had a conversation with him. He was more concerned about sports than he was the actual community. So at that moment I said, maybe let me just continue to do what I'm doing. And then Mayor Hobbs had ran for mayor. And then watching him, listening to him, I saw a person who had the same vision that I had. I'd left New York for a while. When I came back, my vision was to improve Hempstead the way it used to be to what it could be in the future. And seeing what Mayor Hobbs has done, it inspired me to want to get involved with his team. And so we had meetings, and I talked with him. And, he supported me, and so I became a village trustee. And then after that, sort of like Seth, a position open at the state level. I didn't seek it, but I had to look at it the same way that I looked at the village of Hempstead. If not me, like Scott says, then who? Because I didn't like the direction that it was going. And I thought, I bring a lot to the table, so maybe I can bring that to the state as well. And that's how I got there, and that's how I am here.
Those are some really inspiring stories. It just shows that it just takes a yes to be able to start something beautiful. Everyone has normal upbringings, just like you all. So all it just takes is just that yes to want to be the change. So
Well, public safety is very important to me. It has been since being in office. And some of the things that we've instituted to promote the safety of not just the students, but all the residents in the village of Hempstead and those that visit the village of Hempstead is having technology like license plate readers. We have cameras throughout the village of Hempstead. And by putting those tools in place, we have watched a reduction in crime in the village of Hempstead in a major way. Recently, unfortunately, many have heard on the news of the college student that was killed in Hempstead. That wasn't a resident of the village of Hempstead, but it happened in Hempstead. But prior to that, we were going on 3 years without having a homicide in the village of Hempstead. And if anyone knows the history of Hempstead, that is major. And by, again, making sure that we put the tools in place to promote public safety, here on the Strip, Hempstead Turnpike, where a lot of the college bars are, that's what we call it, where some of you guys hang out, also working with them to make sure that it was a safe environment. No selling or allowing underage people to enter their facility. So it's just making sure you present an environment that's safe for all the residents of the village of Hempstead. We have seen more people participate in our parks and recreation. When we have events in the village of Hempstead, it is jam-packed, again, because when people feel safe, they enjoy the community that they live in.
So I think one of the most important things we can do as an elected officials is make ourselves accessible to all of you. And I think too often when people get into positions of power and being elected officials, they tend to take themselves too seriously. And they then put up barriers between themselves and the public, and specifically the youth. So this forum right here is a prime example of what we can do to bridge the gap between what we do and where you are, and just tell our simple truth. And the simple truth is that there is no magic to any of these things. And the magic is in you. The magic is in the idea that you think you can, then you can. And you just, sometimes it just needs a little pat on the back, a little nudge for you to say, of course you can. And if there's one thing that all of you should walk away with today, after hearing all of our stories, we all come at it from a different perspective, but we all wind up in the same place, is that it was just about making a decision to participate. And all of you can do that if you choose to do it.
For me, I think that in ways that we're helping the students is making sure that they have a future to look to and something to look to once you graduate college. For me, one of the most important projects or areas since I grew up in Uniondale is what's considered the Uniondale Hub area where the Coliseum is. And I was fortunate yesterday to be able to sit down with Dr. Poser and talk about some of our strategic plans for 2026. Not just for Hofstra, but for the surrounding community. And I'm sure as it's been discussed, there are some changes that are going to happen. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is the proposed village that is going to come and be able to create a space not just for the students, but also for the community to feel a sense of community. Because often, I will say Uniondale alone is missing out on that kind of downtown area or that place to corral and feel community and connected. So continuing to bridge partnerships where where we understand where we are currently and where we may go in the future, and also being able to plan for the uncertainties that are happening. Because unfortunately, a uncertainties are happening each and every day. We wake up and things can change, funding can change for students, from student aid to how institutions are receiving their funding, and being able to stay in the front of those conversations and have them early on and adjust and see where we as legislators can step in and help I think is most beneficial and going to be most beneficial to our students, and also ensuring that there is a workforce for them to go to once they leave college and graduate, because I don't think many of you who are not residents of Long Island have come all this way, just to maybe go back home. You come to see a different place and hopefully make this your new home, and we would love for people to stay, and we have to put in the work to make sure that stability is there.
So, one of the biggest lessons I learned as a person in government is that government is slow. And I say that because you have an idea, and then you have to study it, and then you have to put it out for bid, and then you have to review those bids, and then you have to hire the people who are going to do that bid, and then you have to actually break ground on whatever it is that you're doing. And the truth is, these things can take years. I've never seen a project go from start to groundbreaking in less than 5 years. That said, so you just kind of have to adjust yourself to that. I do want to, I know this was Alina's priority, but housing truly is something that young people need, affordable housing. And one of the things that we were able to do in the Baldwin area, we got $10 million from New York State, and it was to have the town of Hempstead and the county governments kind of working in concert with one another to improve the downtown area. And one of those projects was an apartment for affordable housing. So there were, say, less than 50 apartments. The apartment is now done. And people were going to be able to apply by lottery. And for less than 50 apartments, over 6,000 people put their names in. And that tells you what the need is, what the desire is for affordable housing. So we have to be able to do more projects like that, because as Alina said, we want our youth to stay on Long Island, otherwise Long Island dies. So we have to do our part so you can do your part.
One of the projects that I was working on in the legislature, which I said, my priority was public safety, was something called GEO's law, which is an extension of a state law that would require Nassau County police officers to carry EpiPens in their cars in the event of an emergency. Unfortunately, that legislation was never brought to a vote in the legislature because of the way the legislature is structured, with the majority being the Republican caucus. They chose not to bring it up for discussion or debate, and it was never voted on. But in hearing from other people in the community how concerned they are, and knowing how many people are affected by allergies, and I see right here in the cafeteria there's an allergy-free zone, the idea of having police officers who are regularly patrolling, readily available to administer EpiPens, seems like a common sense piece of legislation that I'd like to see happen. But obviously it's not going to happen now that I'm leaving office through my doing. But my hope is that the community will get involved, rally, and my fellow legislators can bring it across the finish line. But that's just an example of some of my goals and what I want to do with the idea of public safety for all of our students and all of our children, all of our people here in Nassau County.
Thank you. To answer that question, I'm going to get a little interactive, so that means the audience, you're going to have to get involved a little. I'm going to put my teacher's hat back on, and I'm going to say a top priority that I've always had, obviously, is safety, but also to see redevelopment, because that was one of the reasons that I got involved in office. As the mayor stated, I think so many applause should be given for what he was able to create with the public safety initiative and how it's been managed for the past few years in the village of Hempstead. But that and knowledge is what my priority is. What do I mean by that? there's no one in here who can do anything effective if they don't learn first. So there's a lot of misinformation, or there's a lot of uneducation when it comes to government. So my job has been to educate as many people locally as I can so that everyone can get involved in government. Because if you would know some of the things that took place right under your noses, you would be so disheartened. So it's my job, and you know, I like to bring as many others along with me on the journey of educating people when it comes to politics, is to say, how many in here, just a hand, just give me an example of something that you'd like to do. I'm going to show you why education is important when it comes to politics. It's, anyone, give me an idea of something that you may like to do. Give me anything.
Hey, shut up.
Okay. Okay, you love to read. What type of books? Okay, that's government. You should be involved in government, because there was a time where you couldn't read certain books, especially being that you are of a specific race. So something that you love, you would never think could be taken away from you. So anyone else in here, meaning an example of something that you like to do.
Run and walk state parks.
You like to run and walk state parks, guess what? That's government. You know why? State parks are managed by local governments and your state governments. There's certain things you may or may not be able to do based on state parks. I'll give everyone something fun in here. Anyone like to go to dinner? Everyone likes to go out to dinner, right? Guess what? That's government. Anybody like to drive a car? That's government. Anybody like to fly planes and go on vacation? We should all raise our hands for that, right? Guess what? That is government. Because within the airport system, our federal government issue regulations that we must abide by. Now, if you don't like those regulations, guess what you could do? You could reach out to your elected officials and ask them to change those policies. So I want to say this: there is nothing that you do, I don't care what it is, with the exception of breathing oxygen, there's nothing that you do.
Well, that's government too.
Yeah, that's right, that's government as well. There's nothing that you do, even breathing oxygen, that is not involved in government. So whenever you hear someone say, I don't vote, I don't want to get involved in government, tell them that's a serious mistake, because you ultimately hold the decision on what we do. So think about that. Whenever you say, or you hear someone say they don't get involved in government, they don't vote, they're making a serious mistake.
Thank you all so much for that. So we had so many beautiful questions prepared for you all today, but unfortunately we've run out of our time allotted. So I'm going to invite Genesis up to close us out, and thank you so much, Genesis, for organizing this event. And hopefully we get a part 2, so we get to these really important questions. You had some wonderful questions, guys. So hopefully we get a part 2 and you guys all come to that.
Thank you.
Wait, can I say one thing real quick?
It's government, so if you have questions, reach out to us. You can find all information online. If you have questions you didn't get answered, reach out to any of us. That's the beauty of your elected officials. We kind of have to respond. So reach out. We encourage it. So just want to say that.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here and bringing all of your energy and curiosity and heart to this conversation. I appreciate everything that you all have done and said, and all of your amazing insights. As we head into the holiday season, it's a perfect reminder that community is built through kindness, involvement, and showing up. Showing up. This is what you all did here today, and thank you. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to the Hofstra Dems. Thank you to Shonda and Brittany for helping me. And thank you to the Fennel and the Assembly Member District 18 office for helping me bring this event to life. Thank you.